Marthena Bluegill worked as a prostitute at the Tensmore Hotel in Lark City, Missouri. As was her custom, after having sexual intercourse with a new man, she sat leafing through the Bible that stood on a cheap wooden table next to the hotel room bed in which she had just sold her body to her latest client. "Let's see now," she mused out loud, licking her left thumb victoriously once she had located the exact page that she desired. Here on page 788 it says, and I quote, "The vessel of the human body may be used for any purpose whatsoever in the quest for earthly gratification, whether that be for economic gain or sheer wanton pleasure." End of quote. Then, after having read these glorious words aloud to herself again, she settled back onto the lumpy, though somewhat comfortable hotel bed, whereupon she dug the index finger and middle finger of her right hand in tandem into her womb for the sake of eliciting yet another round of physically based pleasure. Later that evening, after having led another 2 middle-aged married men to arousal separately, Miss Marthena plunked herself into one of the hotel's therapeutic warm water tubs and poked herself into a frenzy of ecstasy once more. "I'm beginning to like this place," she chuckled softly as she splashed herself into a state of personal cleanliness while she entertained the filthiest thoughts humanly imaginable. After she had toweled herself completely dry, emphasizing her breast area most particularly the whole time, Miss Bluegill supped over at the hotel restaurant. When her repast of lobster and oyster meats, along with garden vegetables and apple cream pie, had been summarily devoured, she strolled over to the Hotel Baltimore in Kansas City, twirling her parasol as she strutted about like a high-class society lady. When she arrived at the Hotel Baltimore, she selected a table over near the main dance floor of the place. Inviting the daughter of a prominent Kansas City cattle baron to her table, Marthena asked the girl, "So where can we find ourselves a pair of rich husbands so that we can live out the rest of our lives in luxury, Shayna?" "I hear tell that there are some fine young gentlemen making the rounds out in Dodge City, Kansas," answered Miss Shayna. "Does that strike your fancy, Marthena?" "I'm not so keen on the younger gents, Shayna," said Miss Bluegill with a smirk. "It's their daddy's uncles who are loaded with the moolah, my dear." "But I'm too young to marry an older man, Marty," pouted Miss Shayna. "I've yet to sow my wild oats, if you catch my meaning." "Don't be a mooncalf, Shayna, darling," retorted the cynical Bluestocking. "Sowing one's oats isn't all that one might imagine it to be, sweetie pie. I'll have to ask you to trust me on this point. I know it from personal experience, let's say. Oats can be sown at any time. But money, now that's a thing that will last you a lifetime." "Well, even if that's so, Marthena, the town of Dodge City is a considerable distance from here," countered Miss Shayna. "And that's something that even a greenhorn like me ought to know, because my pappy owns over 1,000 head of cattle there." "Oh, how interesting," cooed Marthena. "Your father is a cowman extraordinaire. I was wondering where you got all of your ready cash from, you devil, you." "Isn't your father rich, too?" inquired Shayna naively. "You always seem to have quite a bankroll at your disposal, my little cornflower." "No," scoffed Marthena jovially. "I'm what you might call a working girl. I have a good-paying job. As a matter of fact, my dear," Miss Bluegill giggled, "I'll have to teach you the art of giving a good job one of these days." "That sounds rather tedious and tiresome, if you ask me," Miss Shayna responded, without having understood the gist of the witticism at all. "That depends on who the client is, and how much money he makes each month," snickered Marthena, milking the overhead joke for whatever it was worth. "If you say so, my dear," shrugged Miss Shayna, oblivious to Miss Marthena's evil designs on her, or the fate that might befall her if she did choose to follow in Marty's tainted footsteps. Later that night, after her conversation with the innocent Miss Shayna, Marthena read another passage from the Bible in her room. It stated, "Those who know not the joy of being led astray will forever miss out on the finer things in life." Closing the insightful black book with a thud, Miss Bluegill announced in a malevolent whisper, "I'm going to do you the favor of a lifetime, Miss Shayna. You'll thank me someday." On the following evening, Marthena once again ran into Miss Shana. However, Shana was practically in tears over some foolish matter. Seating herself next to the mildly sobbing 17-year-old, Miss Bluegill slung her arm around the young lady's shoulder and said, "Hey there, Shana. My dear, do please tell me what's the matter with you tonight." In between erratic gusts of alligator tears, Shana answered, "My father won't let me go with you over to Dodge City. He said that I'm just a tenderfoot and I wouldn't survive the land journey. Oh, Marthena, what am I going to do now? Oh, I feel so terrible." "Well," replied Marthena craftily, "we'll soon see about this." Releasing her young friend from the half-embrace in which she had been held, Miss Bluegill stated bluntly to Miss Shana, "You just leave the details of the excursion to me, my love. I'll see to it that justice gets done in this matter. Mark my words." That night, while she was alone in her hotel room out in Lark City, Miss Marthena read aloud yet another passage from the Gideon's Bible. It went as follows: "Those who interfere with the lascivious desires of the living must soon end up amongst the dead." At around 6 o'clock in the morning on the following day, Miss Shana's father was out riding with a few of his ranch hands at the base of Lee's Summit when a huge stone came tumbling down the side of the mountain, crushing him to death instantly. A week later, after her father's funeral, Miss Shana was invited by Marthena Bluegill to trek over to Dodge City, Kansas with her for a much-needed vacation. "The change of scenery will do you some good, Shana," remarked Miss Marthena quaintly. "I don't know," whined the younger woman. "It's so soon after my father's death. It just doesn't seem right for me to leave my mother's side while she's still grieving so pitifully." "Nonsense," countered Miss Bluegill. "Besides, you're a big girl now, Miss Shana. This is your chance to see a bit of the world while you're still young enough to enjoy it." Somehow, some way, Marthena talked Miss Shana into joining her on her expedition over to Dodge City. It hadn't been easy, but Miss Bluegill had accomplished her goal. The look on Miss Shana's face after her first night in Dodge City would have been enough to peel the paint off the hand-carved duck decoy had it not been for Marthena feeding the youngster copious amounts of whiskey to dull the pain and the embarrassment of wild, raw sin. But in time, Miss Shana became one of the finest whores in all of Kansas.